What's up, everybody? Peter X is Okafor here for another episode of 21st Century Gems. And there's uh, particularly when it comes to boomers and many Gen Xers, there's this myth that they're not making good music anymore. And also that, they don't make albums like they used to. Now, a lot of folks are single driven and are album focused, but there are some folks still doing good albums. So today I'm doing Post Malone's Hollywood's Bleeding from 2019. Um, yeah, so a little bit on Post. He's 28. He's one of the most followed artists on Spotify, I think at 23 million. He might be the most. I have to check those notes, but Post Malone is tied with Justin Bieber, Ed Sheeran, and Dua Lipa with 5 songs on Spotify's most streamed songs of all time, and I believe that's either the top 50 or top 100. Um, he has 10 songs in the Spotify's Billionaire Streams Club, which is at 477 as of September of 2023. And let's see, he's the ninth most streamed artist of all time on Spotify with 31.1 billion streams. And Hollywood is Bleeding is the fourth most streamed album of all time in Spotify history. So lots of good things going on with this album. What do I like about Post Malone? Well, he blends genres. He blends hip hop, country, rock, folk, and grunge. So Post lists 4 main influences when it comes to his music. Number one is Johnny Cash. Um, if you get a chance, go and watch Post Malone's NPR Tiny Desk concert. That's pure Johnny Cash. What I love about Johnny Cash the most is just the rawness. And how if you've seen the NPR Tiny Desk concert, you know how it is. All it's at least somewhat acoustic. You might bring keyboards, but you're all crammed up in there, and there's only so much there, for amplification. But it is a pretty acoustic set for him. It's about 15 to 20 minutes, and he just lets loose. I mean, you watch that, come away, uh, seeing that Post Malone's a much better singer than you thought. I mean, he really, really uh, pours his guts out, so to speak, and you could feel what he's feeling as he sings. And you could see it too. His second big influence is Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. So again, go to YouTube and his quarantine. He did a quarantine concert with I believe the drummer for I can't think of his name. One of the pop punk bands. Uh, I think Green Day. And he did they did covers of Nirvana, and that's where I first really like, man, it's not the Post Malone I knew or I thought I knew. He does a great job, and he does, you know, he's kind of a smooth vocalist, but he can get dirty and grungy when it comes to that rock stuff. And he plays rhythm guitar. He's a pretty good, rhythm guitarist. He also wore his grandmother's dress, in this and to go along with his facial tattoo. So yeah, that's another really great look into, uh, Post Malone and who he really is as an artist. Fourth on the list is Bob Dylan. Um, and of course, Bob Dylan is known for his acoustic guitar and his folk. Uh, and finally, his fourth, big influence as far as Post Malone goes is Kanye West. And that's, for me, Kanye is known for experimentation. He's in there, in that lineage with Prince and the Beatles and Miles Davis and those folks just always shaking it up. So the album starts off with Hollywood's Bleeding, and it's kind of structured like uh, a rap, a little classic rock song, and so they use synth and keyboard chords to replace the classic rock power guitar chords. So there's a is the classic rock is structured like a classic rock song, and it has rap elements. So he kind of does this several times. Uh, Saint Tropez is the next song. Song three, Frenemies, and he's calling out his haters. So that's the hip hop aspect where he's bringing in as part of hip hop culture. You got to call out the haters. And then the fourth song is Allergic, and it's structured a little bit like an early Beatles song, but it uses synthesizers, rather than the acoustic or the for lack of a better word, real instruments. Song five is 1,000 Bad Times, pretty good song. Circles, number six, that's the sixth song. You smash. We all know this song. This is Bob Dylan married to rap. So, I mean, it has, I think, it's been a minute since I did this outline, but, um, it really is kind of, a folk rap song. And so that's where his Bob Dylan roots come into his recorded work. Seven, Die For Me with Halsey. I love Halsey. She's one of my favorites, and she's one of the few singers these days that will bring the emotion into a song. And eight is On the Road, a pretty good song as well. Number nine is Take What You Want. Love, Ozzy Osbourne's on it. So, you gotta love it. This is the experimentation and the blending of genres. And lo and behold, you know, Post has a guitar solo in the song, so hey, you gotta, y'all love my guitar solos. It's one of my favorite songs on the album, just because he's pushing boundaries again. 10, I'm gonna be alternate rock, punk, rock, rhythm guitars again. Good stuff going on there. 11 is Staring at the Sun with SZA, like that one as well. Number 12, another smash, Sunflower. And, as I think both Circles and Sunflowers have over 1 billion streams. So this is Bob Dylan with synthesizers. I mean, it's folk rap again. There's no acoustic guitars. I believe Circles has acoustic guitars, but it still has that folk rap thing that he marries, to Bob Dylan. So, 13 is the internet, avoiding the internet due to the negativity. So hey, like that. Uh, Goodbyes with Young Thug, that's a hitter. Love that song. That's definitely stronger hip hop vibes going on with that. 15's Myself, 16's I Know. Wow, another hitter. That's definitely uh, it's very hip hop, and that's what he closes the album with. And yeah, so I mean, he's doing a lot of interesting stuff on this album. He's a very good songwriter, and knows how to do hooks. But slyly he brings in a lot of his, he doesn't bring a lot of the Nirvana in, but he's bringing in, Dylan, at least sonically, and on this album. So as I said, Dylan sonically is seeps more into his music. We're still live. He's bringing in Johnny Cash, but other than that quarantine concert, he's not bringing in Kurt Cobain as much. I talk about this. I've talked about this in various episodes over the various um, sub channels here on my channel about how uh, it's so hard for these young artists because. These the record labels want to brand out of the music, and they want to they're so concerned with having an identifiable sound for the music that they forget to let them kind of stretch out and be creative. So But this is easily to me, the album where, you know, Post is able to, stretches out the most. I mean, hopefully, I've said this, before, and, talking about Stevie Wonder when he turned 21 in the early 70s, and, Barry Gordy gave him that $1 million check. And Stevie went and recorded, 4 albums, Talking Book, Music of My Mind, Fulfilling This, and, I always forget one of the four, Intervisions. Went back, said, here are my next 4 albums, release it or I'm going elsewhere. And, Marvin or, um, Barry Gordy wisely, said, yeah, we're going to release that. Because, until the early 70s, I mean, Motown was a more singles, label than an album, focus label. And, you know, Stevie wasn't having it. So I think, at some point we'll see, but folks like Post Malone and her and Doja Cat may have to do that. I mean, her's another one that, when you go on YouTube and look at some of her live stuff, which for some reason now is being taken down pretty quickly. I don't know if it's her label or her management, but it's unfortunate because, she plays everything, the drums, the keys, the guitar. And I hear she puts on a very, very good show, but they're taking it down. But she did, that great version of the Beautiful Ones at the Prince tribute concert. She played on Dream On with Aerosmith, and she does when she goes, does duets with our other artists on their album. She gets a little more. Um, uh, Creative and experimental, but I feel that in some ways she's kind of being straitjacketed as well. And then the other one is Doja Cat. I mean, Doja's a great writer. A couple months ago, I saw where she said she wants to do a punk album, and I remember saying to myself, well, the label is not going to let that happen. They want their billion streams. And I'm about to, her newest album was released last Friday, Scarlet, and about 2/3 of the way through that. And there ain't no punk on that. They're like Doja, we want them billion streams. And so, I think she's kind of feeling frustrated. That's why she's lashing out at fans and stuff like that. So it's not easy. It's not easy, when you're talented and these labels are, basically keep screaming at you to stay in your lane. Um, yeah. So unfortunately, these labels are basically, telling a lot of these really talented young artists to, be commercial or experimental. You can't be both. Now, uh, Ye, as being both, but he came, when did Ye drop in the early to mid 2000s? I mean, so he came up, right as, the old way of doing stuff, with the rise of the streaming era. So he, luckily was, and he sold enough copies where, those rules don't apply to him. And you still have, Kendrick Lamar, who basically does his own thing and is experimental, but, is so good that it sells. And Janelle Monáe, she's kind of in an experimental vein as well. But you know, it's hard, being an artist, with a label that wants to push the envelope. So anyway, like this album, really like Post. So thanks for coming through. I got 5 albums and all the streaming services, and also right here on my YouTube channel. So check that out. R&B, funk, little rap, throw in a little EDM and some classic rock. I do a little bit of everything. I'm also a science fiction fantasy writer. Got 2 novels and a novella on Amazon. So check all that out. I appreciate you coming through. Hit the like button and also please subscribe to the channel. Thank you again and see you next episode.